Black CEO denied first class. Minutes later, he brings the airline to its knees. Hello, everyone. Before we begin today's video, I need your help. We've noticed that the channel is losing traction, and subscribing is one of the best ways you can help us. It's quick, free, and allows us to continue bringing you great content. Your support means everything. Let's keep this channel growing collectively. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's get back to the story. The cabin was calm, that kind of hush money buys. Velvet seats, low amber light, the smell of champagne and entitlement. Then came the shout. Move to economy now. The voice of authority cracked through the air like turbulence. Passengers froze mid-sip, eyes darting to the source. A captain in Navy uniform, jaw locked, fingers stabbing toward seat 3A. In that seat sat Marcus Carter, gray hair, calm eyes. A man dressed too simply for first class. Charcoal polo, leather carry-on, no logo, no flash, just presence. He didn't move, didn't blink, only raised one brow, as if deciding whether the scene was worth his breath. I said move, the captain barked again, stepping closer. This cabin's for verified passengers only. Gasps fluttered like whispers through the aisle. A woman clutched her pearls. A man behind them pulled out his phone. Near the window, a silver-haired businessman smirked. Slow, deliberate, cruel. Some people, he muttered loud enough for others to hear, always think money fixes everything. Marcus turned his head slightly, catching that line. His expression didn't change. If anything, his silence grew heavier, the kind that demanded answers without asking. A young attendant rushed over, cheeks flushed. "Captain, please!" He cut her off. Check his ticket again. Probably printed it at home. This. 15 from the reason Texas. The attendant hesitated. "Sir," it scanned green. Her voice trembled, but truth hung sharp in it. The captain ignored her, already reaching for Marcus's boarding pass. He snatched it, tore it clean down the middle. There, no more confusion. The sound of paper ripping felt louder than the engines outside. Marcus stared at the halves resting in his lap. Then quietly he said, "You shouldn't have done that." The captain scoffed. "And what are you going to do? Tweet about it?" A murmur rippled through the cabin. Phones tilted higher. One passenger whispered, "Is this really happening?" Marcus exhaled once, slow, steady, like a man too used to being tested and too old to waste anger. Behind him, a couple in designer suits shook their heads. "Unbelievable," one said. "Security should have handled this already." Their Askambau was evident. The silver-haired man still watched with amusement, arms crossed, his grin reflecting the golden light of power unchecked. Marcus finally looked up at the captain, meeting his glare with something colder than defiance. "Composure. Are you finished?" "Not until you move," the captain snapped. A pause stretched one heartbeat, two, enough for the tension to ache. Then Marcus leaned back, voice calm as a verdict. "I paid for this seat, and I'm not moving." Haste. Somewhere down the aisle, a camera clicked on. A red recording light blinked. Before we continue, where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. And if you believe in dignity and justice, hit like and subscribe. These stories spark change, and we're glad you're here. Now, back to Marcus Carter, who just refused to stand up, and in doing so, made the entire airline start to fall. 15 minutes earlier, before the shout, before the finger in his face, there was only calm. Gate B-14, Chicago O'Hare. 6:08 p.m. Marcus Carter stood in line like any other traveler, one hand in his pocket, the other holding a slim black carry-on. No entourage, no assistant, no corporate badge. Just jeans, a polo, and the kind of quiet that unsettles people who mistake noise for power. The gate agent barely looked up when she scanned his pass. The scanner beeped green, verified, priority seat 2A. But her smile didn't reach her eyes. "Have a good flight, sir," she said. That last word curved with suspicion. He nodded, polite. He'd heard that tone his entire life. The one that said, "You're not what I expected." As Marcus walked down the jet bridge, a flight attendant whispered to another, "That guy? First class? You sure?" The second shrugged, "Probably a company voucher." He pretended not to hear. Experience had taught him to choose his silences carefully. Inside the cabin, first class glowed in gold light, polished, perfect, predictable. 12 seats, all white leather and cold stairs. Marcus took his spot quietly, seat 2A by the window. A businessman beside him looked him up and down, then glanced at the flight manifest on his tablet. "Can't be right," the man muttered. Marcus smiled faintly. "What's not right?" "Oh, nothing," the man said quickly, tucking the tablet away. But his discomfort lingered in the air, thick as recycled oxygen. A flight attendant, Nicole, approached. Perfect hair, perfect posture. "Sir, are you sure this is your seat?" "Yes," Marcus replied, handing over his boarding pass. Nicole scanned it. Green again, but her lips pressed thin. The system must have made an error. He tilted his head. "Twice?" She didn't answer, just gave that smile people wear when they think they still have control. "I'll double-check with the captain. Thanks for watching." Marcus watched her walk away, heels clicking on the carpet like a countdown. He looked out the window, watching ground crew guide the last luggage carts. The city's reflection slid across the glass, a skyline he helped rebuild, one investment at a time. Funny, he thought. I can own a fleet of jets and still not belong on one. Across the aisle, a young woman in uniform trainee badge, Mia L., adjusted the overhead compartment. Her eyes met his for a second, uncertain but kind. "Let me know if you need anything, sir." "Thank you," he said softly. "I just need fairness." She hesitated, sensing more behind those words, but said nothing. Then, from the cockpit, the captain's voice rose, low, irritated. "Which passenger?" Nicole whispered back. "Seat 2A. Doesn't look like he belongs." Marcus caught every word. His jaw flexed, just once. He took a slow breath, the kind that ends arguments before they start, or begins revolutions without warning. When the captain finally appeared at the front of the cabin, the lights dimmed slightly. Passengers straightened. Phones were tucked away. The ritual of power began. And that's when it happened. The captain stopped beside Marcus's seat, brow furrowed, voice sharp. "Sir, you'll need to move to economy, now." The cameras hadn't started rolling yet. But justice already had. The moment the captain spoke, the air in first class shifted. It was no longer quiet, it was charged. Nicole folded her arms, standing just behind him, her smile gone now, replaced by a smirk that dared him to argue. Passengers turned in their seats like an audience waiting for a performance they didn't pay for. Marcus stayed seated, calm, hands resting on his knees. "My ticket says seat 2A. It's valid." The captain's voice hardened. "I'm not repeating myself. You can take your things and move, or we'll have you escorted." Escorted. The word landed heavy, deliberate. Around them, heads tilted. Whispers crawled up the aisles. "He must have sneaked in," someone muttered. "Maybe it's stolen," another said. Nicole took a step closer, lowering her voice, but not enough. "Sir, this cabin is reserved for verified clients. You understand, right?" Marcus looked up, eyes steady. "I understand exactly what you're implying." Behind her, Brian, a young male flight attendant with too much confidence and too little empathy, chuckled. "Happens all the time. Fake upgrades. Print a QR code. Walk in like you own the place." Marcus turned his gaze on him, measured and calm. "You'd be surprised how often I do." The smirk vanished, replaced by unease. But before anyone could speak, the silver-haired man 2 rows back, the one in the tailored suit with a watch brighter than the cabin lights, leaned forward. "Captain," he said smoothly, "is there a problem? My wife and I have been waiting to depart." "No problem, Mr. Bennett," the captain replied quickly. "We're handling it." Mr. Bennett's wife sipped her champagne, barely hiding a grin. "Well, make it quick. Some of us actually paid for first class." Murmurs spread. The tone was set. Mia, the trainee, watched from the galley, anxiety flickering across her face. She'd seen Marcus's boarding pass scan green, twice, and yet she stood frozen. The hierarchy in the cabin was louder than truth. Marcus straightened slightly, still in his seat. "I've given you my ticket, my ID, my confirmation. What else do you need?" The captain crossed his arms. "Proof that you belong here." For a moment, silence. Then Marcus said, voice even but cutting, And what exactly does belonging look like to you? That question hung in the air like smoke. Nicole looked away. Brian coughed nervously. Mr. Bennett smiled wider, loving the show. Looks like someone's making this difficult, he muttered. The captain took a step forward. Sir, I'm asking one last time. Mia finally moved. Captain, his ticket's valid. I checked it myself. Her words came out trembling but clear. Nicole snapped her head toward her. Trainee, that's not your call. But it's true, Mia insisted. He scanned green at the gate. A flicker of courage. A crack in the wall. The captain's eyes narrowed. Do you want to keep your job, Miss Lang? Mia froze. The question wasn't really a question. Marcus leaned back, exhaled quietly, and said, You don't need to defend me. But she had already done enough. The cabin had heard her. The passengers had heard her. Truth had entered the room and refused to leave. Nicole folded the torn ticket pieces in her hand, a small, symbolic victory. We'll reassign this seat, she said. Marcus's voice stayed calm, almost gentle. You can reassign the seat, but not the consequence. The captain frowned, confused by the confidence. Outside, the last luggage cart pulled away. Inside, injustice had already taken off. The cabin lights flickered as the last passengers settled. But in seat 2A, the air was electric. No turbulence, no engine noise, just tension thick enough to taste. Marcus sat still, his boarding pass now nothing more than two torn halves on the floor. The captain loomed over him, waiting for movement that never came. Behind the curtain dividing first class from the rest of the world, the young attendant, Mia Lang, stood frozen. Every rule she'd learned told her to stay silent. Every instinct told her to speak. Her heartbeat was louder than the hum of the engines. Nicole leaned toward the captain, voice sharp as glass. He's ignoring direct orders. Brian, half laughing, half nervous, added, We can call ground security before takeoff. Get him off fast. Marcus didn't flinch. He just looked at them and said quietly, You're mistaking patience for weakness. That made the silver-haired passenger Mr. Bennett smirk wider. Oh, he's got a mouth on him. Reminds me of a waiter I had once, always talking back. Laughter from his wife followed, soft but poisonous. Mia stepped forward from the galley before she could stop herself. Her voice trembled, but her conviction didn't. Captain, I checked the manifest. He's on it. Seat 2A. Confirmed. Everyone turned. Nicole's head snapped around. Miss Lang, return to position. I can't, Mia said, her voice breaking, but still loud enough for everyone to hear. He belongs here. For a beat, no one moved. The sentence hung there, vibrating with risk. The captain's jaw tightened. You're a trainee. You don't get to contradict command. But you're wrong, she said. And I won't lie about it. Her words sliced through the air like the sound of a landing gear locking in place. A few passengers murmured. A man in row 4 whispered, Good for her. Another lifted his phone higher, recording now in earnest. Nicole's composure cracked. Turn that camera off or I'll have you removed too, she hissed. Marcus finally looked up at Mia, calm eyes meeting hers. There was something in his expression. Not gratitude, not pride, but understanding. He'd seen this before. Someone risking everything just to say the truth out loud. Thank you, he said softly. Mia swallowed hard. You shouldn't need thanks, sir. Just respect. The captain glared at both of them. Enough. You're done here. Step out of the cabin before this becomes official. Marcus didn't rise. It already is. He picked up the torn boarding pass from the floor, smoothed the pieces together between his fingers, and set them neatly on the armrest. Do what you have to do, he said. But remember, every seat comes with accountability. The words landed heavier than a threat. Nicole hesitated. For the first time, doubt crossed her face. She looked toward the silver-haired passenger as if for approval, but he only shrugged, sipping his champagne. Then came the quiet click. Cameras everywhere, now phones, tablets, catching the moment from every angle. The hush that followed wasn't fear anymore. It was awareness. And in that hush, Mia whispered to herself, They'll fire me for this. Marcus heard her. Maybe. But sometimes the price of truth is cheaper than silence. That wait. The captain turned toward the intercom, muttering to Nicole, Get security on standby. Nicole nodded, but her hands shook as she reached for the handset. because even before security arrived, everyone in first class already knew the story had changed. The man they'd tried to humiliate wasn't the one under scrutiny anymore. They were. Nicole's voice cracked through the cabin intercom. Security to gate B14. We have a non-compliant passenger in first class. The words dropped like stones. Murmurs spread. Someone whispered, "Non-compliant?" Someone else muttered, "He hasn't done anything." Marcus sat still, calm, composed. His fingertips rested on the armrest, steady as anchors. The captain turned back toward him. "You had your chance, sir." "I didn't realize flying required permission to exist," Marcus said quietly. Nicole's jaw tightened. She gestured toward Brian. "Take his bag." Brian hesitated but moved anyway, reaching for the small black carry-on under Marcus's seat. The moment his hand touched it, Marcus's eyes lifted, slow, deliberate, unflinching. "You touch that again and you'll regret it." Brian froze. He looked to the captain for backup. The captain nodded. "Remove it." Marcus's voice came low, steel wrapped in calm. "Do that, and you won't just lose your job. You'll lose your sense of decency." The cabin fell utterly still. The older couple, the Bennetts, watched like spectators in a play they thought they'd already seen the ending to. Mrs. Bennett sipped her drink and said, "You see what happens when you let anyone buy a ticket?" That did it. The fragile quiet snapped. The anger that Marcus had spent a lifetime containing stirred awake, slow but unstoppable. For a second, his mind wasn't in seat 2A. It was 15 years earlier. A younger version of him, Navy jumpsuit, badge reading maintenance crew, stood on a different tarmac, rain hitting steel. He'd been ordered off a plane he'd just repaired because a passenger didn't feel comfortable boarding while he was there. The supervisor hadn't defended him. He'd said, "Let it go, Carter. It's not worth your job." Back then, Marcus had obeyed. He'd walked away, soaked in silence, the word less echoing in his chest. But now, in this cabin, history had circled back. Same arrogance, same tone, only this time he wasn't powerless. He blinked, the memory fading, replaced by the present. Brian still stood over him. Nicole's hand hovered over her radio. The captain waited for surrender that wasn't coming. Marcus straightened his back, his calm sharper now. "You think this is about a seat?" Nicole frowned. "It's about compliance." He shook his head. "No, it's about image, about what you think first class should look like." A few passengers turned away, ashamed to meet his gaze. One woman whispered, "He's right." The captain crossed his arms. "You can discuss image after you deplane." Marcus leaned forward, voice low but commanding. "If I leave this seat, it'll be because I choose to, not because you made me." The line landed with quiet finality. Nicole reached for her earpiece again. "Security, now. Why come to stayed?" And that's when Mia stepped closer, trembling but defiant. "Captain, please stop this. Everyone can see what's happening. You're escalating it." He glared at her. "You're out of line." She swallowed. "So are you." Phones rose higher. Cameras blinked red. Marcus looked at her, then at the entire cabin. His tone softened, but the weight in it was unshakable. "This isn't new. It's just being recorded this time." The engines hummed louder outside, impatient. Inside, silence pressed like gravity. Nicole lowered her radio slowly, realizing too late the world was already watching. And for the first time since boarding, Marcus allowed a small, knowing smile. The breaking point wasn't him losing his composure. It was them losing their cover. The silence that followed was a living thing thick, pulsing, waiting to see who would speak first. Then, softly, Marcus reached into his pocket. Not for his wallet, not for his ID, for his phone. He slipped in a single AirPod. The white curve gleamed beneath the cabin lights. "Rachel," he said quietly, voice measured, calm as a pilot's before takeoff. "Activate internal review protocol, Category 6. From the other end, his assistant's tone was crisp, composed, familiar. "Confirmed, sir. Board compliance alert initiated. Live transmission in progress." The words barely reached the passengers, but they hit the crew like a gust of cold air. Nicole blinked. "Who did you just call?" Marcus didn't answer. He just leaned back and folded his hands. "Someone who outranks everyone in this cabin." Brian scoffed, masking unease. What, your lawyer? Marcus tilted his head. Close. Mia stood frozen near the galley, eyes wide. She didn't fully understand what was happening, but she felt it. The power had shifted. Quietly, invisibly. The captain leaned closer, trying to reassert control. Sir, phone's off during boarding. I make it haven't bother. Marcus's eyes flicked up, steady, unbothered. Then you might want to turn yours on. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. From the other end of the line, Rachel's voice came again, now amplified just enough for those nearby to hear. Marcus, the system shows you're on flight 227, Horizon Airlines, correct? Affirmative. Copy that. The board of directors has been notified. Live feed is active. You're clear to proceed. Nicole's posture faltered. The board? She repeated, as if the word itself didn't belong in this space. Marcus didn't look at her. He was watching the captain, who was watching his career unravel in real time. Sir, I don't know what you're trying to prove, the captain said, voice stiff. Marcus responded with that same unnerving composure. You already proved it for me. Behind them, Mr. Bennett chuckled, trying to reclaim control. This is absurd. You expect us to believe some random passenger has a direct line to corporate? Marcus finally turned toward him, a ghost of a smile touching his lips. Not random, strategic. The captain's radio crackled once, twice then went dead. Nicole frowned, tapping her earpiece. Captain, comms just dropped. Mia stepped forward, whispering, Sir, what's happening? Marcus looked up at her, his voice quiet but resolute. Accountability. That's what's happening. Noted. Rachel's voice came through again, now clear enough for everyone nearby to hear. Marcus, compliance has confirmed escalation. HR, legal, and ethics teams are monitoring. We're logging every interaction, every phrase. Proceed as you see fit. Nicole's face drained of color. Who are you? He met her eyes evenly. The person you should have listened to before you tore that ticket. Mia's breath caught. The captain stepped back half a pace. Brian's smirk was gone. Marcus set his phone on the tray table. We'll do this properly, he said, voice like steady thunder. No shouting, no threats, just truth. Rachel's voice again. Understood, sir. All channels secure. The captain blinked, realizing too late this wasn't a confrontation anymore. It was a deposition. Passengers leaned in, some recording, some whispering. The older woman in row 3 murmured, Something big just changed. And it had. Because from that moment on, the balance of power in seat 2A was no longer measured by uniform or title. It was measured by ownership. And Marcus Carter owned everything that came next. The captain's composure cracked first. His voice, once commanding, now stumbled over its own authority. Sir, I don't know who you think you are, but this behavior... Marcus cut him off without raising his voice. You don't need to know who I think I am. He paused, letting the silence breathe, letting every camera in the cabin tilt toward him. You need to know who I actually am. He stood slowly, smooth as takeoff. His movements were deliberate. No anger, no rush, just inevitability. Every head turned. Nicole froze mid-step, her hand hovering near her earpiece. Brian's smirk collapsed into confusion. Even Mr. Bennett lowered his glass. Marcus reached for his phone on the tray table and turned it so the speaker faced outward. Rachel's voice came through, clear, unwavering, carrying the weight of corporate reality. Board confirmation complete. Marcus Carter, Chief Executive Officer, Horizon Airlines. Live authorization verified. The words detonated in the air. Nicole blinked, her lips parting. You're what? Marcus looked at her, calm as ever. Marcus Carter, founder, majority shareholder, and acting CEO of Horizon Airlines. The silence that followed wasn't disbelief, it was devastation. Every word, every tone, every insult they had thrown at him replayed in their minds like evidence in a trial. The captain took half a step back. His throat worked, but no sound came. Sir, this must be a misunderstanding, Marcus finished for him. It usually is, until the truth shows up. Gasps fluttered through the rows. One passenger whispered, He owns the airline. Another whispered back, He is the airline. Mr. Bennett tried to recover, straightening in his seat. Well, surely there's no need for theatrics, Mr. Carter. Marcus turned to him, his tone colder now. You paid for a seat. I paid for the wings. The old man's face drained of color. Rachel's voice returned, brisk and professional. Marcus, the compliance board has requested documentation. I'm transmitting verification now. All crew members are being cross-checked against HR records. Nicole's tablet buzzed in her hand. She looked down and saw it. Her own name flashing red. Under internal review. Her breath caught. Oh my God. Marcus didn't flinch. You called security on a man whose name is on your paycheck. The captain's shoulders sagged. Sir, I didn't realize. Marcus's gaze sharpened. That's the problem. You never do. He looked around the cabin at Mia, trembling but proud, at the passengers who had filmed everything, at the crew who stood like statues carved from guilt. Then he said, quietly but with absolute finality, the uniform doesn't make you right. The silence doesn't make me wrong. Mia took a shaky step forward, eyes glistening. I knew you belonged here, she whispered. He nodded once, gently. We all do. Note, Rachel's voice came through one last time, now calm and formal. Authority confirmed. You have full executive control over this flight, Mr. Carter. The captain stared at him as if seeing him for the first time. You're grounding us? Marcus exhaled, slow and steady. No, you grounded yourself. And with that, the hierarchy of the cabin flipped like gravity reversing. The man they tried to remove wasn't a trespasser anymore. He was the ground they stood on. For a heartbeat, no one moved. Then everything happened at once. Nicole's tablet chimed again, this time with a new notification stamped in red. Crew suspension. Effective. Immediately. Her jaw slackened. No, that can't be real. Rachel's voice, cool and clinical through the speaker, filled the stunned silence. Marcus, board authorization confirmed. All involved crew are now under live investigation. Temporary grounding orders have been issued to Captain Daniel Pierce and Senior Flight Attendant Nicole Harris pending review. The captain's hand went to his radio, instinctive, desperate. The device buzzed uselessly. Dead signal. Corporate had overridden the channel. Marcus didn't raise his voice. He simply said, that's what protocol looks like when accountability finally takes off. Nicole's eyes darted from her screen to the passengers. Cameras everywhere. Dozens of eyes recording every flicker of shame on her face. Sir, please, she stammered. I didn't mean... Marcus held up a hand, calm but final. Stop saying you didn't mean it. You meant every word. You just didn't expect consequences. The captain opened his mouth, but Rachel's voice cut through again, crisp as a gavel. Mr. Carter, the board requests immediate compliance verification. You are authorized to proceed with field-level action. That's dated. He nodded once, eyes never leaving the captain. You heard her. For the first time, Captain Pierce, the man who moments ago had barked orders like he owned the sky, looked small. His uniform seemed heavier now, his confidence gone. Mr. Carter, he began quietly, I was following procedure. Marcus tilted his head. Which part? Tearing a verified boarding pass? Profiling your own passenger? Or humiliating the CEO who signs your paycheck? The words landed one by one, precise as instruments cutting through armor. From the back of the cabin, a voice spoke up. It was the young mother from row 4. He told you his name, she said softly. You just didn't want to hear it. A ripple of agreement spread. Passengers who had sat frozen now leaned forward, united by something rawer than curiosity, justice in motion. Marcus turned toward Nicole. Her eyes glistened. Sir, I've worked here 8 years. And in 8 minutes, he replied, you've undone all of it. Rachel's voice returned, calm, procedural. Mr. Carter, legal has joined the feed. HR confirms full authority for immediate on-site termination pending your discretion. Nicole's voice broke. You can't just... I can, Marcus said. And I am. He took a slow step closer. Nicole Harris, effective immediately, you are relieved of duty for misconduct, bias, and violation of corporate ethics policy 4B. Gasps rippled through the cabin. Someone whispered, he's firing them right here. Marcus turned toward the captain. Daniel Pierce, You are suspended pending investigation for abuse of authority, procedural negligence, and failure to uphold federal anti-discrimination policy. With two that riddlins. The captain exhaled like a man deflating. Sir, please, let me make this right. You had your chance, Marcus said. You used it to make excuses. Behind them, Brian dropped his service towel to the floor. What about me? Marcus looked at him once, a brief, cold assessment. You laughed. You watched. You did nothing. Brian swallowed hard, throat tightening. I'm sorry. I don't need apologies, Marcus said quietly. I need accountability. Rachel's voice. Noted. Records updated. All disciplinary actions confirmed. The announcement echoed softly through the cabin's speakers, automated and irreversible. For a long second, the only sound was the hum of the engines idling on the tarmac. Then came something unexpected, slow, steady clapping. It started with Mia. Her hands trembled, but she clapped anyway. One beat, two, then more joined. Passengers, strangers, allies in shared disbelief. The applause spread like light through darkness. The captain lowered his head. Nicole sank into the jump seat, staring at her trembling hands. Brian turned away, eyes wet. Marcus stood still amid the applause, unmoved by triumph. This wasn't victory. It was exposure. He turned toward Mia. You spoke up when it mattered. That's leadership. She blinked back tears. I just told the truth. And that, he said, is what this company forgot. Rachel's voice softened through the phone. Board wants your final directive, Marcus. Actually, Fard, and the Fedible 4 and the second twos. He looked around the cabin, at the passengers, at the wreckage of arrogance, at the quiet proof that dignity can be louder than shouting. Suspend the flight, he said finally. Deplane everyone safely. Horizon will cover full refunds and lifetime status upgrades for every witness here. They deserve to remember that justice flies first. The cabin erupted in applause again, not loud, not chaotic, but steady, righteous. Mia covered her mouth, overwhelmed. The captain, silent now, simply nodded to the ground crew through the cockpit window. Engines powered down. Marcus gathered his belongings, phone still on speaker. Rachel, he said, start the internal audit. Every flight, every crew, every incident we ignored. The era of silence ends tonight. Already in motion, she replied. He turned toward the door, where passengers had begun to line up quietly, respectfully. As he passed the young mother, she whispered, Thank you for standing up. And Dan. Marcus stopped, meeting her eyes. That's the thing, he said softly. I never stood, I just refused to sit down. And with that, he stepped out of the cabin, leaving behind the sound of applause, the smell of burnt ego, and a lesson written in the air like contrails. Power doesn't shout. It corrects. The jet bridge was quiet now. No engines, no passengers. Just the soft echo of applause fading down the hallway as Marcus Carter walked alone. The tarmac outside glowed in the orange wash of runway lights. Planes taxied in the distance, but this one, Horizon Flight 227, remained grounded. By choice. Inside, the last of the crew gathered their things in silence. Nicole's mascara streaked down her cheeks, her tablet still displayed. Terminated. Access revoked. The captain stood stiff at the galley door, hat in his hands, eyes hollow. Brian sat with his face buried in his palms, whispering, I thought it was just another passenger. Mia lingered by the exit, shoulders trembling, unsure whether to leave or salute. Marcus turned back once more, stepping into the cabin he had just dismantled. The seats gleamed in sterile calm, but the air was different now, heavier, honest. He stopped near 2A, the seat that started it all, and rested his hand on its headrest. For 20 years, he said softly, I've watched this company chase altitude and forget attitude. The few passengers still lingering nearby went silent. Even those holding phones lowered them, sensing that this was no longer a story. It was a statement. Rachel's voice came through the speaker in his hand, gentler now. Marcus, media's already picking this up. Do you want to issue an external statement? He looked down at his reflection in the dark screen. Calm, tired, resolute. No press release, he said. Not yet. People don't need headlines, they need proof. Rachel paused. Then what should I tell them? He smiled faintly. Tell them the flight didn't get delayed. Justice just needed more runway. From the corner, Mia finally spoke, her voice small but steady. Sir, what happens to me now? He turned to her, expression softening. You did what leaders do. You told the truth when it was inconvenient. She blinked hard, emotion threatening to spill. I thought I'd lose my job. You gained your future, he said. You'll report directly to corporate ethics from now on. Horizon needs people who remember what fairness looks like. She covered her mouth, trying not to cry. Thank you, Mr. Carter. He nodded once. No, Mia, thank you. You reminded me why I built this in the first place. The captain stepped forward then, trembling. Sir, may I? Marcus raised a hand. Don't apologize. Learn. Because every policy manual in the world won't save you if you don't know how to treat people. Nicole whispered from behind him, voice cracked. I thought I was enforcing rules. He turned, eyes firm but not cruel. You were enforcing comfort, not justice. And that's why people like me build companies, to change the rules you hide behind. She nodded slowly, shame sinking in deeper than punishment. Marcus took one last look around the cabin. The silver-haired man, Mr. Bennett, had removed his cufflinks and stared quietly at the floor. For once, he didn't have a comment. Marcus exhaled, and when he spoke again, it was no longer to the room. It was to the idea of the room. To every space like it, built on quiet bias disguised as policy. Dignity doesn't check in at first class, he said. It walks with you wherever you sit. And until this company understands that, we're not flying anywhere. Rachel's voice came through, soft but steady. Marcus, corporate has initiated full review. Every base, every crew, every incident tied to passenger discrimination, they're opening it all. Good, he replied. Let them see it. Let the truth have altitude. He looked at Mia. Start the report. Include the passengers who spoke up. Comp their flights for life. Her eyes widened. All of them? All of them, Marcus said. They didn't just witness something ugly. They helped make it right. Today of. He started walking toward the exit, phone still in hand. The cabin lights dimmed behind him as ground crew disconnected the power line. Rachel's voice followed him one last time. Marcus, what should we call this? He stopped at the threshold, turning his head slightly, the night wind brushing against his collar. Call it a beginning. He stepped out onto the jet bridge, shoes echoing against the metal walkway. Behind him, the door sealed shut with a soft hydraulic hiss, like the closing of an old chapter. Outside, floodlights shimmered across the Horizon logo on the fuselage. For the first time, Marcus saw it differently, not as a company, but as a mirror reflecting everything he needed to fix. He paused at the top of the bridge, looking out at the line of planes stretching into the night. Somewhere inside him, exhaustion gave way to resolve. We're not grounding flights anymore, he murmured to himself. We're grounding prejudice. A final gust of air swept past, carrying the echo of applause from the passengers still waiting in the terminal. Small, distant, but real. And as Marcus Carter walked toward the lights, the airport loudspeaker crackled to life with a boarding announcement for another flight. Different crew, different tone. Ladies and gentlemen, the voice said, welcome aboard Horizon Airlines. Please remember, every passenger deserves first-class respect. Marcus smiled faintly, eyes glinting beneath the fluorescent glow. He didn't need to look back. The message had already taken off. I didn't raise my voice, he whispered, stepping into the light. I raised the standard.